The first project we have going on right now, would be the barn project, which is right there on Chancellor next to Twin Palms High School. The project budget on that is at $6 million. The second project we have going on right now is a site security improvement. We're in the final wrap up of that project, and that was $468,000. A project that we are working on that is coming down the road and going to be a while would be the Twin Palms High School modernization and district offices project. And after that, we have the Margaret White School modernization project. And then we also have a lighting project that's coming up with the Palo Verde High School sports field lighting project. And the estimated cost on that project is $712,000.
Can you go through and kind of give updated information about the kind of projected timelines and where each of the projects are?
The barn project, we'll start with that one, would in the hopes be done within the next 90 to 120 days. That project should be done and finalized. The site security project, we should be done with that in the next 30 to 45 days.
What do you mean by site security? Which sites and what securities?
As far as the site security project is in the office of every one of the sites, Ruth Brown, Margaret White, Palo Verde High School, and Appleby Elementary, there was a safety security glass put up inside of there for the safety of the staff, which gives them a head start if there is an incident or some sort of violent act in the front offices.
Okay. I show from Milton's pages that there's on the barn you've spent $4 million.
Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
Hmm?
I didn't hear you.
I said I see from Milton's what he sent me, those things you've spent for about $4 million. $44,313.55 was miscellaneous expense, but the rest was the barn. Phase
So-
1 and phase 2.
Right. So I'll speak to the financial component. So the initial bid amount for phase 1 of the barn was $1,929,000. The initial bid amount for phase 2 was $3,402,000. The total bid for phase 1 and phase 2 is $5,331,000. We have paid to date on the barn $4,941,075.15. We have $95,594 left on, and that their table right here. We have $95,594.30 left to pay on phase 1. We have $294,330 left to pay on phase 2. This does not include any change orders that have occurred since we received the initial bid. And I know we have at least one change order, right? And Steve can speak to the change order.
Congratulations, no change orders. That's amazing. That's okay, it's still amazing.
So far, we have one change order, and the change order was on the cost of $88,000. Any more questions for the barn project?
Yes, I'll leave it there to Milton. I have questions. The original grant, or the bond amount was $28 million? 24 and a half, okay. And you showed, on your papers, you showed a beginning balance of $9,845.
Yeah. So
And all of this interest,
correct.
where
So
does the interest come from, and why do you have a debit to one of them?
So the interest. Okay. So our initial the bond, the total bond is $24.5 million. We've taken Series 1 and Series 2. The Series 1 sale was $10 million. The net proceeds to the district is $9,845,000. So of the $10 million, that's what made its way into the district's coffers. And the interest amount is generated because we had $10 million sitting in the bank for the better part of, a year. And so all of those interest amounts are generated on that initial 9.8 million deposit. And you'll likely see the interest deposits getting smaller and smaller because we're spending the bond down. So that's,
You have a debit of $8,779. That's kind of unusual, isn't it?
it is. If it's an interest, it is. I'd have to see exactly what you're talking. How much did you say it was?
$8,779.
67 cents. That should have been a credit to us. I think I'm seeing that one. That's the one that's on April 22nd, 2020.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm looking at my form here.
I'd have to see I'd have to see what you're looking at.
Well, I got it from your papers. I just.
The ones with all the colors?
Yes.
Let me see. Can you mind if I come and see?
Sure, no, not at all. I feel like the Lone Ranger here. Here,
Let me see what you got.
right here. It's right there.
No, I see it. I can see it at the bottom.
It's a debit to your income.
Right.
account.
The only thing I can look at to see is if we transferred that to another resource.
Okay.
Remember the 9010 I was talking to you
I'm
about?
just sure you're not. You're not taking it.
No,
home.
oh, no.
So, what the reason?
Yeah, I'd have to dig into the journal and see if there's something a little bit past that. I'll do that while we're talking.
That's fine. The ladies? Any questions? Well, here, read this. Read this. This'll help you. I should have made copies. Janine?
Palms campus, so that you understand the projects that are actually happening on the Twin Palms campus.
Because I understand you're going to move your district office to, eventually to the Twin Palms campus?
Correct.
Are you going to temporarily move to, I'm just being nosy, to the middle school side?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Steve, the Twin Palms campus and the projected timeline for us to move temporarily to Blythe Middle School for the district office.
So the district office, we're looking at moving somewhere in December over Christmas break. This whole office will be moved into the middle school. Right now, we have a few items and a few programs we're working on with the middle school to get it up to speed. We have an asbestos abatement program we're getting ready to go out to bid on. And once we get that accomplished and we get that handled, we'll move forward on finishing up doing touch-up paint and carpet in that facility.
The money that you save on the maintenance and the rent on this building would pretty much pay the expenses of moving the district office in the long run, would it not?
Yes.
Good move.
I will speak to that. So we currently pay about $9,000 a month and change in lease for the building, which runs us just north of $100,000 a year. And then on top of that, we have to pay for the custodian, the maintenance, all the work that comes along with the county that performs on the building, which typically runs us about another $100 to $120. So we're currently paying on average like over $20,000 a month for this building. We will never own it.
I told you, no,
Yeah.
I found the lease agreement
Yeah.
in 2001 in your office.
Okay.
I read it right then, and I knew it would never, and I did tell the superintendent, but nobody listened.
I found it again about a year ago, and we did listen this time. And so rather than continuing to dump what I consider to be very valuable funds into a project that's we're never going to own, it's just a money pit, we've looked for creative ways to get out of here and get into an office that in the long run is going to suit the district's needs for a good period of time, and finance it in a way that's structured that where it doesn't hit the general fund. And so that's kind of what. So By moving to the middle school, we will pay no rent there. We think it might cost us around $40,000 or so to get over there, but the first savings is $160 just off the bat, and then every year thereafter we'll continue to save more money.
Take this furniture.
We are definitely taking the furniture. We know that story too.
We're going to empty out the building.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the Margaret White, sale of Margaret White paid for this furniture. And you've got to take my picture too. When you go.
okay, deal.
Ladies, you got it?
So I'd like, if you wouldn't mind how Steve talked about there's kind of 3 different projects happening on the Twin Palms campus for modernization to fit the needs of the district. So if you can review each one of those, Steve.
Right now, we are looking at doing a modernization on the Twin Palms campus. The plans are still out to being drawn. Changes are being made to drastically bring down the price of the project. I don't think we've gotten a final on that yet to where we are and what an approved amount is going to be for that project. The other part that you see going on with the Twin Palms campus, I know you see trenching going through the yard and through the grass. That's for the sewer system going to the barn project.
And so with the Twin Palms, it's going to be, one, modernizing the Twin Palms facility for the students at Twin Palms, as well as modernizing an aspect of Twin Palms to, in the long run, move the district office there, as well as modernizing classrooms and labs to bring in more CTE programs and facilitate that for students.
Are you still making payments to the college on that site?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
I work up at the college now.
It's been paid off?
Mhm.
Congratulations. Sounding better all the time. Okay.
Any questions for Steve on where we are?
Any questions on the modernization of that?
Let me find your little plan. I think now you're talking about your summary and budget form that you gave us. These are your,
Sorry.
That's correct.
okay.
Is there a way to
You
change
guys
that?
have
Or?
this? Any questions?
Oh.
Any comments?
I think you pretty well answered it.
And you say the barn's not finished?
No, we're still wrapping up. We had a few different little items that came apart. And towards the end of it, blow-off lines, which it's more engineering that's having to solve the problems. It's not a cost to the district right now. It's just engineering and architecture having to solve problems with some of the things on the barn, like water lines and overpressures and things of that nature.
I have a question. Are you going to be able to, the water that goes out, is that going to be able to go into our sewer system from the animals that are going to be stored in that barn eventually?
So what we have in the barn is we have what you call a separation tank, similar to what I compare it to as a septic tank. It's a settlement tank.
Okay.
So, and that will be put into a program with the rest of the tanks that we have throughout the district. They'll be pumped out once a year.
Oh, okay.
I have a question. I know on the barn, you didn't include liquidated damages as a part of your bid packet. Have you decided to add liquidated damages to the other bids so that the projects are completed on time?
Yes, it will be included on all the future bids. Any more questions on the barn?
I have none.
Was there any more questions on the Twin Palms District Office Modernization Project?
putting the district office at Twin Palms Junior High?
The district office will go to the middle school, which is a junior high, for approximately 2 years.
And over to Twin
And then it'll be moved over to Twin Palms after the modernization is done.
And then Twin Palms is going to still remain there?
Twin
Okay.
Palms will still remain there. The campus will be split. One side will be for district office use. The other side will be for Twin Palms use.
Thank you.
Well, just off the subject, what are the long-term plans for the middle school site? I mean, it's not on our agenda, but I'm curious.
Honestly, that would be a decision that would be made by the school board.
Yeah, it's in research right now.
So right now, we're moving forward. We're going to move to Margaret White modernization. Margaret White is coming due for its annual modernization to the state. It'll consist of new HVAC, ADA upgrades, new lighting, new architectural finishes, access control systems, all existing school buildings to be included in the modernization of this project.
Now, the reason why it's on here is because modernization funds can be activated once the bond funds have been all utilized, but it's a way to use some of the bond funds to be able to do the drawings and get it ready and go through DSA, so that once that approval hits, it's already in the system, so that when we are on the waiting list to procure those funds, we're already in line. For Margaret White, and so this. Correct. So that amount would be. So that would be being reimbursed to us or projected to us from the state. But I didn't want you to have the understanding that that cost was associated with the bond. It would just be the cost of getting the plans through DSA.
Got that, Dee? Okay, everybody? Thank you.
Any more questions for Margaret White? Okay, the last project we're working on, which is getting ready to go to DSA, would be the Palo Verde High School sports lighting project. That would be the scope of work of adding lights around the baseball fields and the softball fields, where we could have the night games and girls softball games back on our campuses. The cost of that project is $712,000.
You tore the bleachers down. Are you going to think about putting bleachers back up for the games, baseball and softball? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's something we're talking about, but it's unless one moves forward, we can't move forward on the other. So that would be something that would probably be discussed down the road, of putting bleachers and stuff back in that area. Yes, they are. Any more questions on the baseball fields? Okay, that's all I got. Melton, you're up.
So Melton was going to discuss the cost of the projects thus far.
Okay, so as stated earlier, the barn project phase 1 is the yellow row there. The initial bid amount is $1,929,000. We have thus far paid out $1.833 million. There's $95,594.30 left on the contract. I feel like phase 1 is pretty much done. There might be a couple of super tiny lingering items, but we're almost there on that one. With phase 2, the initial bid amount is $3,402,000. We have so far paid out $3,107,000 and some change. There's $294,330 left on the contract, and this is the one that I spoke to the change order. The change order was somewhere around $90,000, right? Give or take. Yeah, we did approve at the last board meeting a change order for phase 2, and change order has to do with running the sewer line and storm drain or the sewer line to the storm drain or something like that, right? Yeah. That's right. So it essentially has to do with the runoff. We just wanted to make sure that the barn isn't going to have muddy puddles and, things like that, that when the kids spray things down, it's going to go where it needs to go. And so that was the extra $90,000 change order. The purple item that you see is barn miscellaneous, architect and testing fees. We have DSA fees. We've had Landmark consultants come in and give us, do a bunch of tests on the ground, the soil, that kind of stuff. And then the bigger portion of that is the architect. Architects are not cheap. And so that represents those three represent that area of activity. And then under the miscellaneous expenditure items, we've so far spent about $54,000 on things that are not related to the barn or the school security. And what we've done there, we actually had a bond audit. So we've had to pay out. You'll see a firm on the sheet called Nigro and Nigro. That is the firm who audits the bond. So you should see maybe $6,000 or $7,000 out there for them. You're going to see likely another spot called FaciliServe. And what we did with FaciliServe is we with FaciliServe, we made some upgrades to the gymnasium. If you go into the gymnasium now, you will notice that there are handrails. There's a cutout for a wheelchair. Our bleacher system, as much as I like it, it was kind of unsafe, and it just hadn't caught up to the world in terms of ADA and things like that. We still have the bleachers that we've had for as long as I remember. I was reluctant to get rid of those bleachers. I think they are very well built. I like them. So rather than throw the baby out with the bathwater and go with the aluminum bleachers, we just decided to retrofit what we have. And so those are the FaciliServe expenditures that you see on there. And then I think there's another one called CSM or something like that, something along those lines. And with that vendor, we purchased a scoreboard for the football field and I believe 2 scoreboards for the basketball or for the gymnasium. And so that's what those activities are. And then the last one is not the last one, but the last of the projects is the school security project that Steve spoke of. And essentially that is making every single one of our school sites where you kind of have to buzz your way into the back. You're gonna encounter a lobby when you walk into the schools now, and you will not be able to walk into the office without being buzzed in by one of the personnel from behind the counter. So that's just to make everybody a little bit safer. If we have an active shooter situation or an irate parent or something like that, it's going to buy the school ideally more time to respond appropriately to those kinds of threats. And so far, we've paid out $31,155 on that, but I imagine those pay-apps are going to be coming pretty quickly because that project is moving along rather swiftly. And then the last thing is the debt. When we did the first series of funding, Series A, that was the $10 million sale, and we got almost all of that. That was the one that 9 point something came in. When we did Series B, we sold $9 million worth of bonds, but of the $9 million, let me find it. $1,084,600 made its way into the district's account, and then the remaining was set aside to cover the debt that was serviced by the general fund. One of the things that was killing this district is that year over year we were shelling out about $1.2 million from the general fund to service our debt, and for us that's over 3% of our total general fund budget. And so it took a big hit, and it made the financial planning kind of difficult when you kind of got that thing on your back all the time. And so one of the things that we did with Series B funding is that we used a majority of the bond proceeds to satisfy the debt that we had taken on in previous years for Climate Tech, the pool, gym, that kind of stuff. And so it's relieved some pressure on the general fund. And so that was the purpose of the debt. And then below you have the cost of issuance. We paid $147,705 for Series A, $154 for Series B. And our ending balance as of June 30 in terms of the bond, we have $5,301,838 the bond account.
On the debt service, did you look at refinancing your debt?
We had just refinanced the debt in 17. The problem is it's just the kind of debt that we have. It's like the worst kind of debt that I would argue just about you could go get, we had. And we did refinance that debt just prior to my arrival. I came in July of 2017, and I believe they financed it somewhere around January or February. But nevertheless, it was still a big, hindrance for the district when it came to financial planning. And so, go ahead.
And those were, the debt paid off was debt accumulated from school facilities projects, and so it is within the scope of the bond. And on A3 of the full text of bond measure, there's a line there that specifically has allowed us to be able to do that.
And we vetted through Riverside County. We had the auditors. We called both the bond auditors and the auditors who do our single audit for the whole district, and got the blessing of all three entities before we made that move.
The step you're talking about was what we did for the football and the swimming pool and the parking lot.
At the time, we probably should have gone out for bond. I mean, those projects were so huge, that would have been perfectly appropriate for a bond measure at the time. And I don't know if, the political landscape didn't allow it. I wasn't, so well in tune. But what it sounds like we did do instead is we just went out and got those certificates of participation to pay for all of it. And like I said, that,
Like me.
yeah. All right.
That was-
Then you get a pass.
That was my doing. Well, I didn't do it alone.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what you were sold at the time, but,
No, we were sold a certificate of participation, and those things we felt needed to be done. The swimming pool was leaking. We had the Okefenokee swamp up there, and it was just time to do things.
Right.
And so at that point in time, when you're, 5 people are told you do.
right.
We were the board, we thought we were.
You're sitting here with your arms twisted. I know how it goes. Or maybe you're not always told the story of.
We looked into, we thought it was the best thing we could do at that time, so I'm glad that you're taking care of it.
Yeah.
And I still think the football field looks wonderful.
No, it does. And again, I'm not arguing against the need for the project. Just the method of financing, and again, if we were in a pinch and that's what we had, that's what we had.
It's available
Right,
at
right.
that time, yeah, so we.
But this gave us an opportunity to kind of wiggle out of some of that, and so we absolutely took it. And it's interesting that the timing, because had we not done that, I think we would have gone off a financial cliff with the COVID. The timing of everything has just been so amazing that, I'm nervous to think about where we would be had we not made that move a couple months ago.
Well, and it's smart because you bought down the debt, and now the governor's looking at deferrals and
Right.
and all the other stuff. So you.
That's what I mean. We wouldn't have survived. There would have been no way. Yeah. We probably had the state here trying to take us over, or who knows.
What is it they call it when the state takes you over?
Conservatorship or conservatorship or something like that. Yeah. It's called unemployment line for me, I think, because they say the CBO is who they go after first. Well, right after the superintendent.
When they come in and take you over because you can. That was a good report, I understand. Any questions? You're doing a fine job. You must have had a good teacher.
I did. I surely did. Counting at that.
Miss Weber. Okay, is there, that the conclusion of your report?
Yeah, if there are no questions, I'm sorry.
Is there any other business? We adopted the agenda, so I don't think we need a motion we've accepted the agenda, so are we all done? Any further reports?